Happy Wednesday, second period. Today we're going to take a look at explicit versus implicit evidence with the lady or the tiger. So your first order of business is to complete the Grammaropolis activities, and interjections is what you are going to be focusing on today. Please remember that you need to get that 80% above to get the credit. So interjections are up for you today. When we look at explicit versus implicit evidence, explicit evidence is evidence that is right there in the text. It comes right out and tells you. So it is right there. You can point to it, and it is clearly stated, and it does not leave any room for questioning. It is there. It is in black and white. Implicit evidence is the information where we draw our own conclusions and make our own inferences from based on the explicit evidence that's given to us by the author. So this is kind of where you read in between the lines and find that other evidence that the explicit evidence points to, but it is implicit because you are inferring. So let's take a look at a video that explains this a little further.
So today we're going to talk about the difference between explicit and implicit information. The first thing you're going to learn is how to identify explicit text. Next, you're going to learn how to use that explicit text to come up with an inference or implicit information from the story. So what exactly is explicit information? Explicit information is going to be any information stated clearly and in detail, leaving no room for any doubt. But what exactly does that mean? So let's take a look at this selection from a story. The grasshopper laughed at the ant and said, "Stop your silly work and have fun with me." "No," said the ant, "I'm gathering food for winter. You must do that too." "Ha ha! Right now I have plenty to eat. Why should I worry now?" laughed the grasshopper. Based on the explicit text, I know that the grasshopper laughed at the ant. How do I know that he laughed at the ant? Well, it says so right here in the story. The grasshopper laughed at the ant. That makes this explicit information from the story. So basically, if you can point to it in the text, it's explicit information. So what is implicit information if that's explicit information? To help us out, let's take a look at our example from the story one more time. The grasshopper laughed at the ant and said, "Stop your silly work and have fun with me." "No," said the ant, "I'm gathering food for winter. You must do that too." "Ha ha ha! Right now I have plenty to eat. Why should I worry now?" laughed the grasshopper. Here I can say that I think the grasshopper is lazy. Notice here that I say I think. I'm not saying I know he's lazy because the story doesn't actually say that he's lazy. However, I can use clues in the story that lead me to believe he is lazy. The first clue that makes me think that the grasshopper is lazy is where he calls the ant's work silly. Because he uses that word silly, it means he's not wanting to do any work and is therefore lazy. Another clue that makes me think he's lazy is he asks the ant why he needs to worry about winter coming and not having enough food. This tells me that he's relaxed. He's not concerned with getting more food. He's not willing to work any harder. So the author is giving you, the reader, clues in their explicit text. And you take those clues and use your prior knowledge, such as people who don't like to work are considered lazy. And you can see the author is implying the grasshopper is in fact lazy. So if you can use any of the explicit information the author gives you to support an inference, you've identified implicit information in the story. So to review, if you can point to it in the text, it's definitely explicit information. And if you can use that explicit information to support an inference, then it's implicit information. So congrats! You now know how to identify explicit and implicit information. If you have questions, see your teacher.
Okay, so now that gave you a little bit more insight on explicit and implicit evidence. So just remember that explicit, it's right there. You can point to it in the text, and implicit are the things that you imply and the things that you make inferences about based on what you see in the text. So those are the drawing conclusion things that we make. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your skills here to work using the document that is in Google Classroom. This is the explicit and implicit evidence for the lady or the tiger. The first one is done for you as an example, so you can kind of see the types of things that we're looking for in the different columns and when it comes to explicit and implicit evidence. So please make sure you look at that example, and then whenever you go to do your own, please be mindful of that. So today's task are Grammaropolis. You're going to do the interjections. Remember that 80% requirement. Complete the lady or the tiger explicit and implicit evidence, and you're going to submit that for a grade. The link is in Classroom. Today's big idea is how does characterization help to shape the plot? Seeing is believing. We hope you understand from today's lesson that what you read, you begin to form your own thoughts and your own ideas based on what's actually there in print. And believe it or not, you do this without even knowing it. So just be mindful of things that are explicit right there for you to see. And then the things that you draw conclusions from and make inferences from, that is the implicit information. Um, so I hope that you have a great Wednesday. You only have one more day of classes tomorrow, and then you get to enjoy a 3-day weekend. So I will talk to you tomorrow.